Hi, I'm Aurry. I graduated from NYP SDM in 2008. Now I'm at Dreamworks doing storyboarding. I chose to go into animation. I think at the time Singapore was kind of pushing for digital media, and I've always loved animation. I was really into anime and manga, and I've always loved reading. I read a lot of Roald Dahl and Harry Potter, Tamora Pierce, and when I saw NYP's curriculum, I think it really excited me. It made me want to pursue this path. And at that time, the government was pushing for digital media, so my parents were pretty convinced that it would be good. Yeah. At the time, it was Pixar's golden age, where they came out with Toy Story and then Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., Up, and all these movies just like blew me away. And at that time, I was really into anime and manga, and I thought that was what I wanted to do. But watching Pixar's movies, it made me realize there was so much more to animation, and I decided that that was what I wanted to do. I'm a storyboard artist at Dreamworks Feature, and that means that I get a script from the writers and I visualize it in the form of drawing panels for the directors. Each sequence is about, I think average is about 400 drawings, 400 panels of drawings, and these will all be cut together in editing. So storyboarding is like the blueprint of the movie. What I enjoy most as a storyboard artist is the drawing portion, because being able to draw 8 hours a day is really fun. And helping the director visualize his or her movie is also really exciting and challenging, and I feel like I'm able to bring a lot to the movie in this role because I work really closely with the directors. The films I worked on, my first major film was Finding Dory at Pixar. I was only there for about 7 months as a layout resident, but it was super hands-on, and they let me take on a sequence with my mentor. And it was the sequence where Dory and Marlin, I think Dory wants to leave the reef they were on, and Marlin's trying to convince her to stay. It's a pretty simple sequence, but I learned a lot, and it was really challenging. I'm currently working on a movie called Everest, which is a working title at Dreamworks, and I'm working as a storyboard artist on the movie. So I studied at Ringling College for 4 years, and it was extremely intensive. I would never want to go back to that time of my life again. There were a lot of late nights. My biggest concern was finding a job after graduation, so everything I did was geared towards that. So I focused a lot on layout and lighting because there were a lot more jobs for computer graphics than for 2D related things. But it was great. Like, I learned a lot. The topics were pretty foundation. They focused mainly on character animation, but I think the best part of it is the final year project, the thesis that you get to do in your final year, because you were expected to make a short film, and because of that, you have to do everything from design to storyboarding to modeling and rigging, animation, lighting, and then rendering, compositing. So I think that was probably the best year of my life, even though it was really hard, but it was super fun. Poly kind of threw you into the swimming pool. I feel like the deep end, like I remember the first assignment we got was like to model a human character. That was kind of ridiculous because we barely knew the software. But I think Poly did a great job of introducing us to Maya and to 2D animation, and that made the transition easier for me when I went to Ringling. Because at Ringling, they actually start you off really simple. You start by modeling simple objects that they call simple polygons. So it's just like tiny squishy things that move. After you get more experience with software, then you start modeling characters. I didn't really have to go out of my way. I think America is actually quite similar to Singapore. There wasn't a huge culture shock. I think people there were actually very confident. If anything, that was the most interesting thing, like how confident they are. And I guess it taught me that like sometimes you kind of have to wear that confidence and just be proud of your work and be able to sell your work. At work, I think I was most shocked at the fact that they pay you overtime, because they don't do that very much in Asia. And in America, I think work-life balance is very important for a lot of people. I think it's also very industry specific, but in computer animation, they try to pay you overtime when you work, and they pay you like 1.5 times more, which is really nice. And other than that, people there, they work really hard, but they also play really hard. Like there's a lot of parties at work, and I think at Pixar, almost every department had a bar. But they expect a lot from you too. Like they expect you to go above and beyond and to not just do the work, but do it to the best of your abilities. And at my job in the States, as a story artist, I'm expected to add more to the script than just to follow it. The director likes to see what I can bring to the table. And it's a bit different from stuff that I've done here in Singapore, where it's mostly work for the clients and I just do what they want. I haven't had the opportunity to come back to SIDM to give talks or workshops, but I would love to. I think one of the biggest things I've learned over the years is that to not tell yourself you can't do things. I think that if you put in enough effort and you don't give up, I think as long as you don't give up, I think one day you'll be able to get to where you want to be. If you work hard and you work smart, I think working smart is pretty important too. DMD was an introduction to animation that was not anime and manga, because back then I think they had a very close relationship with Sheridan, and they tried to get us to be more interested in Western animation. And it made me realize that there's so much more to animation, and it gave me a pretty good foundation, which made going to the States to pursue computer animation a lot easier. I think in my third year, when we did my FYP, I joined this group of people that I've never interacted with before, and to do a 2D hand-drawn animation for our FYP. And it was probably the best time of those 3 years because we got really close working together every day, and we became very good friends after that. And we had it was a lot of fun. We did a lot of like hide and seek at night because we stayed late to finish our projects. And so we went out to eat at Block 505. We went out to eat a lot at Block 505, and we played a lot of hide and seek and in the courtyard and stuff. It was great. I hope to get more experience storyboarding, get more movies under my belt if possible. But eventually, I think I would like to come back and contribute to the industry in Singapore if there's a chance, either teaching or just workshops.